Hi, I'm Doug Donnelly from Cecil TV, and welcome to our show. This is our newly revived segment, Dialogue with Leadership. Back before the pandemic, we regularly welcomed county leaders to tell us what is happening in the county and to answer some questions that might interest our viewers. Tonight, we welcome Rebecca Hamilton, County Councilperson representing the 2nd District. Welcome, Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you.
Ms. Hamilton is the newest member of the Cecil County Council. She was elected in November by a considerable majority. And so how are you adjusting to your new position on the council?
It has been, well, I think from the beginning, from the campaign start, it's been exciting. It's been different. So I don't think that's changed at all over the last 2 months. So adjusting pretty well, getting settled in, learning a lot, and just get it, dropped in as soon as inauguration took place. They dropped us into the next meeting, and we have just been kind of off to the races since then.
Right. You said when we interviewed you in the fall that at some point in the past you would never have imagined yourself in running for office and winning and now holding office.
Yes.
It's something. So you're just back from MACO, which is the Maryland Association of Counties, not where you get your car painted. Did you learn anything about how other counties are dealing with the issues that we face in Cecil?
Yeah, so MACO was incredibly interesting for me, just really getting to learn a lot from other counties. One of the big things that I took away from it was just the county engagement from all levels. So I kind of went into it thinking it was county councils or county government, and it was department heads. It was every department that's within a county government was represented, and it was really just kind of interesting hearing how other counties are doing things, picking up things that we could bring back. I would say that for me, it was incredibly overwhelming, just the amount of information absorbing. So I still have, pages of notes and all of the different presentations that were given. I have photographs of slideshows and stuff like that I've still been going through. But yeah, it was just really incredibly enlightening how other counties are handling some of the things. So some of the things that came up obviously were growth, especially in some of our rural counties, and how do they handle that from the urban to the suburban to the rural counties, the different things that the governments are taking from either a commissioner base to a charter base. That one kind of came up. How do we take care of our workforce? How do you, implement growth, but then take care of workforce housing and having affordable housing?
Yeah, housing's a growing problem.
Yes, it is. And then coming from building materials, it's one of those things where I'm fascinated with it, which is also one of the reasons I wanted to join our planning commission board, so that I could learn more about what was happening in the county and all of the different planning developments that are happening. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I guess each council person kind of has their special areas. So what you doing? Planning commission, anything else?
So planning commission, so my first meeting that I was able to attend was actually last week. And then I'm also on the Parks Board. Both positions are ex facto, so just no voting position. But Parks Board I haven't been able to attend yet, so we're going to make sure that that's a virtual because it happens to fall on the same night as work session and legislative sessions.
Right.
So looking forward to jumping in that, getting to understand what's happening with our Parks and Rec department, and then also serving alongside both President Gregory, Vice President Meffley on the MACO board, as well as the Rural Maryland Commission.
Right. At the last the last time there were the council people, whatever they call that, the comments.
Okay.
Both, I guess everyone who was there mentioned the cannabis situation. The legislature has decriminalized cannabis, but has created no policies or regulations to go with it.
Yep.
And I guess that's for this current legislative session, but it doesn't. What is it? 80 days? It doesn't.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I know that states like New York have allowed municipalities, at least towns, I know for sure, maybe counties, to opt out, to say there'll be no stores here.
Right.
There'll be no retail, recreational stores. So the question is, if given the opportunity, do you think the council would take up this issue?
So that one came up at MACO so MACO as that essentially represents the counties in terms of legislative sessions. So MACO is really that voice of all of the counties. The counties all have different votes. So as the counties come together and say, this is our position on things, then we present that, or MACO presents that to the legislators. So cannabis definitely came up during the MACO conference. It's come up in so many conversations. I think there was a lot of people that voted for the passing of legislation, not recognizing fully what was in the bill. I personally voted against it, and I still didn't even know what was fully in the bill. So it definitely came up in terms of opting out, if it's an opt-out situation. As a council, we haven't really talked about it, so it's hard to figure out where our position would be, because in some cases there is where we are in position to other counties, in position to Delaware, in position to Pennsylvania. It doesn't necessarily it doesn't necessarily remove the issues of cannabis from the county, right? Or the residual.
Even right now, you could. I guess people could drive to New Jersey.
Absolutely. One of the points that came up was that counties that opt out, then to an extent, you cause confusion. So, somebody who, if Harford County does not opt out, somebody who lives in Harford County comes into Cecil County. Well, how do we police that? So it really doesn't necessarily do much. In terms of fixing any of the issues related to it.
Is there an income aspect to it for the county?
Most likely, yes. And that's really what's going to be happening at the legislative session this year is how do we tax it? How do we, essentially, how do we create an income from it? And so part of that conversation around opting out is if you opt out, do you lose on the income part of it, the tax revenue from it? And you don't get to partake in that part of it. So there's kind of a lot of pieces with it. So as a council, we haven't really had a chance to talk about it, but I know it's going to be coming up. So.
Okay. The county executive, in her State of the County address, mentioned Northrop Grumman's Hypersonic Center of Excellence, which is the coolest name. I think most people would agree that this is a step forward in gaining, high-paying tech-type jobs in the county. But at the same time, we're also celebrating the construction of a new interchange, which is almost like an invitation for more trucking-related businesses. I know back when we interviewed you, you kind of, like many people say, we should have higher paid jobs, tech jobs, as opposed to warehouse jobs. But now that you're on the council, has your perspective changed or?
Not really. I think it's probably solidified even more because I recognize how many projects are already in the works that are coming down that kind of bring in more of that what we've deemed that warehouse business, distribution center business. And granted, it brings in jobs, it brings in income, obviously. The concern, I think, naturally with a lot of these is the viability of those positions, and as we as labor costs increase,
and automation.
As automation increases,
that whole
exactly.
industry could be not only. Not the warehouses themselves could become robotic. Mm-hmm. The trucks. If Elon Musk has his way.
Right.
Semis will be electric and possibly self-driving.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is the automation of those positions. Granted, you're going to need people to control the automation aspect, which maybe brings a higher level of position. Right,
but it's the ratio.
Correct, and then if you have an economy that's built on these positions, and as labor, like I said, labor costs increases. I know the new administration in the state is really pushing for that $15 minimum wage, I believe, by October. Mm-hmm. So as that increases, it's certainly less expensive for an employer to go to automation than to employ people, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So when you build your economy around that, and then all of a sudden those people find themselves phased out because of automation, we certainly would run into issues with that. Mm-hmm. But I think in general, labor and labor shortages, there's certainly not a shortage of work. I think what a lot of people are finding, there's a shortage of employees, though, looking for positions. So.
Right. Somebody said something to me the other day, and I didn't believe it. But do you know there are 100 million people in the United States who simply are of working age, who simply have decided not to get a job or have a job?
I'm not surprised by that.
It's like, what are they doing?
Correct. Yes, exactly.
What are they
at home gaming?
Yeah, at home gaming. Okay, last question. Mm-hmm. Back when we interviewed you before the primary, you agreed with the idea that the public should have input on how the $19 million of ARPA money should be spent. So far, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, the administration has only reported to have spent a small portion of that money. Are you or the council aware of what plan there is for that money?
That's a good question. I can't say that I am aware of what exactly it's being spent on, or where it's going, or how much has been spent, just offhand at least. Mm-hmm. That's not a question I was actually prepared for. I can certainly, get back to you on that. I know, so one of the big things though is that and it's one of the things I want to call out. So speaking of engagement, obviously we want to encourage our citizens to engage in the process, in the government process. Whatever it is, whether it's spending, how we're spending money with the ARPA funds, where we're spending that, if we're, paying for another pickleball court, or how it's being spent, but also just in general, like coming to our council meetings every Tuesday, or the first and third Tuesdays is when we have legislative sessions and public comment. Just a plug out there for that one. But in February, I believe the administration's going to be hosting a public comment session on the budget, on the upcoming budget. So they had one last year. It was really, it was really quite an event to attend. It was quite a full audience and lots of comments. And then the council will have one in May. I believe it's May 18th.
That's the one at Elkton High School.
Correct, and that's the public one. So we'll go through all of the budget presentations from the different departments, and then the public will be able to also provide their comments to us.
Right. Good. Well, that's all I have.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And have a great term, I guess.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.